Hello, thank you for joining me for the Exit Code training. My name is Melissa Bothan, and I am from the Department of Education with the special education programs. The purpose of the training today is going to be a quick overview of graduation requirements, and this will help districts ensure the information in Infinite Campus, which is the student data management system, is correct, to help find errors within the data and to provide technical assistance on how to fix those errors. Good data is needed for the APR, which is our annual performance report that districts are going to receive every year with graduation and dropout rates included. Data is also used for RDA, which is results-driven accountability, and school and district report cards. I'm going to begin with graduation requirements. Now, at the top left-hand corner of the screen, you will see the Department of Education website where those graduation requirements may be found. Bottom left, you will see that you'll need to go down to Students with Special Needs and click on the appropriate link. This will bring up the infographic, which is on the right, along with other information for graduation for students with special needs. Today, we'll be focusing on that basic high school diploma. For the base diploma, the requirements for all students are 4 units of language arts, which include 1 unit of writing, a half unit of speech or debate, 1 unit of literature, which must include a half unit of American literature, and 1.5 units of language arts electives. 3 units of math are needed, with 1 unit of algebra required, Algebra 1, and 2 units of math electives. 3 units of science, which include 1 unit of biology, and then 2 additional units of science electives, and 3 units of social studies, which include 1 unit of U.S. history, a half unit of U.S. government, and 1.5 units of social studies electives. Any combination that totals 1 unit of an approved CTE, capstone experience, or world language is also needed for the space diploma requirements. Personal finance or economics of half a unit, a half unit of physical education, 1 unit of fine arts, half a unit of health or health integration, and 5.5 units of other electives for a total of 22 units. These are the requirements for the base diploma for all students. Now we're going to look at the exit codes for special education. Now, in the 2019-2020 graduate data reported to the U.S. Department of Education, the total number of graduates on an IEP, according to that general enrollment exit code, was 610, while the total number of graduates on an IEP, according to the special education field's exit codes, was 495. So this is a difference of 115 students, or 23.23%. Now, our goal is to have these two numbers match. The general enrollment exit codes and the special education field exit code should be the same number of students. This is due to coding errors, and so our training today is to help support districts, help to provide that technical assistance and guidance to allow you to be able to go in and accurately check your information for errors, and then also fix those errors to ensure the data is correct. Now, the IEP program exit codes, we're going to go through all of those codes and in what situations you would use them. So one is not receiving special education services. So this means that your IEP team has determined that the student no longer is eligible to receive special education services. 2 would be graduated with a regular high school diploma. Now, students with disabilities who exited an educational program through the receipt of a regular high school diploma, which is identical to that for students without disabilities, are eligible under this code. These students met the same standards for graduation as those without disabilities, and participation in graduation ceremonies to receive that certificate does not qualify a student as a graduate. And when I say certificate, I mean a certificate of completion that is issued by a district. 3 is continues, completed IEP team modified course requirements. Now, students with disabilities who requirements differed from those required from all students would be using this code. These students may participate in graduation ceremonies, but the students are not considered graduating for reported purposes and are still eligible to receive services. 4 is reached maximum age. Now, these are students that are eligible to receive services to the end of that fiscal year in which they turn 21. And that fiscal year is going to be July 1st through June 30th. And the code of 5 is died, which is self-explanatory. 6 is moved, known to be continuing. Now, students with disabilities that move out of the district or catchment area or otherwise transferred to another district, and they are known to be continuing in an education program, you will use this code. There need not be any evidence that that student is continuing in special education, only that the student is continuing in an educational program. So this definition includes students with disabilities in residential or drug or alcohol rehabilitation centers or correctional facilities. 7 is moved, not known to be continuing. This is used when the student says that they're transferring, but the district has not received that request for records, and you're just unaware when or if they will be enrolling in another educational program or school. 8 is dropped out. So this is going to include dropouts, runaways, GED recipients, expulsions, status unknown, and other exiters. 9 is refused services. So you're going to use this code to document students who are homeschooled. If it's a colony student that's completed grade 8 with that religious exemption, these students would still be eligible for services if they re-enrolled in a public school. 10 is completed IFSP prior to reaching maximum age of 3, and this is used for Part C. 11 is a change in IEP. Now, when a student has a change in that IEP, the correct way for that change to happen is to change within the enrollment record by ending the special education fields with an exit date and an exit code, and that would be 11, change in IEP. And then you're going to create a new special education record within that enrollment record with that new information. Now, when you end and start a record, please make sure to not use the same end and start date. A change in category or disability does require the enrollment record to be ended and a new one created. Changes in services do not require a new record. And I am going to show you where you will be changing this information within Infinite Campus later on in the presentation. 12 is student continues. Now, do not use this code on records at the end of the year. The special education rollover wizard will only roll forward records that do not have an end date and an exit reason. So please keep that in mind. 13 is discontinued education, completed IEP team modified course requirements. So these students would be coded as 03 continues, completed that IEP team modified course requirements at the end of the school year, but then they dropped out and didn't continue education during the next year without completing that regular graduation requirement. So you're going to use this code to end the record that had previously rolled forward. 14 is aged out, completed IEP team modified course requirements. So these students would have been previously coded as 3 continuing and completed the IEP team modified course requirements until that end of that fiscal year in which they turn 21. And that's when you're going to use this code to end their record. 15 is revocation of consent. So these students will have been eligible for special education until the point where the parent, the guardian, or even the adult student signs off that they are revoking consent for those services. So this code is going to be used to end that record, and the students are no longer considered to be a student with a disability. So where can you find this information? The Student Data Collections Desk Guide is updated each year, and this information for the special education will start at 93 with those special education exit codes starting on page 103. Now, I do have the infographic on the right linked to go to this, this document, or you can use that website link down below and it will be found in the documents section. Now we're going to take a look at the general enrollments to Sped enrollment crosswalk of exit codes. So you're going to see the general enrollment fields on the left and their corresponding special education field on the right. Now for the first one, expelled, the district is obligated to provide FAPE, so you are not going to have a corresponding special education exit code in that field. 2, which is discontinued education dropout. For that special education field, you're going to use either 8, which is dropped out, or 7, moved, not known to be continued, and that is also going to count as a dropout for graduation and dropout rates. 3 is that in-state school transfer. So for special education field, you'll use 6, which is moved, known to be continuing. For 4, student graduated. Now this is where they receive a regular high school diploma, not a GED, not a certificate of completion. You also are going to use 2 for the special education field, which is graduated. Again, not a GED or a certificate of completion, but receiving a regular high school diploma. And 5 is the same for both fields, and that is going to be student died. 6 is committed to an institution. For the special education field, it will be 6, moved, known to be continuing. 7 is reached maximum age for special education, which is 21. And again, that's reached during that fiscal year or that school year, within they turn 21. And for the special education field, it will be 4, reached maximum age. 8 is out-of-state school transfer, and that would be special education field of 6, moved, known to be continuing. 9 is colony student completed grade 8 with religious exemption. Now that is going to be special education field of 9, refused services. 10 is student retained. You are not going to have a special education record exit code here because if you end that record, it will not roll forward, and this student is going to be continuing their education. 11 is student continues. This will be special education field 12, student continues. Now again, please don't use this code on all records because that special education wizard is not going to roll forward anything that has an end date or an exit reason in that special education field. 12, persistently dangerous transfer. For special education field, it will be either 6, which is moved, known to be continuing, or 11, change in IEP, if that transfer was due to an IEP team decision. 13 is school improvement transfer, which would be a special education field of 6, moved, known to be continuing. 14 is a homeschool transfer. Now this could be either 9 or 12. So 9 would be refused services. So again, that student's going to be eligible for services, but they're not currently attending public school. 12 would be student continues, and that would be used if the district is providing special education services for that homeschool student. 15 is suspended. Now, due to the district being obligated to provide FAPE for students with disabilities, the student may have an end date in the regular school calendar, but then they should be entered into that calendar 97. Just because there is no exit code needed for the special education field because FAPE is still needing to be provided. 16 is homeschool completer. You're going to use special education field code of 9, refused services. Again, they're eligible for services, but not currently attending public school. Or 12, student continues. And again, you will use that if the district is going to be providing those special education services. 17 is discontinued education, and this is completed GED. For special education field, it is 9, refused services. 18 is discontinued education, but they're exceeding compulsory age. And again, this is 9, refused services. Again, you're going to use this code if the student is eligible, but they're not currently attending public school. 19 continues, completed IEP team modified course requirements. This will also be a 3 for special education exit code, which is continued, same descriptor. 20 is discontinued education, completed IET modified course requirements. This would be 13 for the special education field, again with that same descriptor. And 21 is aged out, which is completed IEP team modified course requirements. And for special education field, it is 14 aged out with that same descriptor. Now, there are going to be situations where you will not have a general enrollment exit field code. And this is going to be these examples I have on the screen. One is they're no longer receiving or not receiving special education services. You're going to use this if that IEP team determined that student's no longer eligible for special education. You do not have that general enrollment exit field code because the student is continuing their education. For 11, change in IEP. This is when you are going to end the current record and begin a new special education record. Again, that student is continuing their education, so there is no general enrollment field exit code. And 15, revocation of consent. You're going to use that to end the record when the parent or adult student signs off that they no longer wish to be considered for special education. And again, they're going to continue their regular education, and so you don't need that general enrollment exit code. Now we're going to move to Infinite Campus. Now, who checks the exit codes in campus? So this is a district decision. The special education director may get a notification if the codes are not aligning and they're found to need to be changed. The special education administrator or administrative assistant may be the one that's entering those codes for special education, or it could be an administrative assistant that's entering both the general enrollment information and the special education exit codes. And so it really depends on how your district has chosen to do this as to who is going to be checking those codes in campus. These are examples of what it looks like in campus for you of where to find these exit codes and this information. So under the general or the enrollment tab, you're going to look for general enrollment information. This will be at the top. You'll see in this record, we have an end date of 5/19/2020, and the end status code is for student graduated. If you keep scrolling down towards the bottom, you're going to see where the special education fields begin, and you'll see that the program, the disability, and the category are completed and filled out in there, and the end date matches the one that was up in the general enrollment information of 5/19/2020, and the exit code is 2 graduated high school diploma. So these two match, and this record is good to go. Now we're going to look at some examples where things need to be changed. So in the general enrollment information, we have the student as grade 1 and student continues, 11. But in the special education fields, again, everything's filled out for program, disability, category, but we have an end date that's missing, and we have 13 discontinued completed IEP team modified course requirements. Well, there is no way that a first grader has completed their IEP team modified course requirements, so this record is incorrect. The way to fix this is you are actually going to go into that information in Infinite Campus, and you're going to change this to 1, not receiving special education services, because when you looked into this, you found, yes, this child is a first grader. Yes, they're continuing, but their special education services, they will no longer be receiving due to them not qualifying for services any longer. Another example, we have our general enrollment information, the date 10/7/2019, and discontinued education are dropped out, but we have them marked in the special education field, same date, but we have them as graduating. So here you're going to need to do a little digging and determine, did the student graduate or did they drop out? So once you did some investigating, we're going to say that you found that no, they indeed did drop out. So they're going to be coded as either 8, dropped out, or 7, moved, not known to be continuing. And that's when they tell you that they transferred, but you never received that records request and have no record of them enrolling and you sending information. This is an example of 2 special education program records in 1 enrollment. So under the special education fields, you can see that there are multiple records. So you're going to be creating a new special education program record if the program changes, the category changes, the disability changes. So just make sure, again, I know I've said this before, but you need to make sure that the end date is 1 day prior to that new effective date. They cannot be the same date. So here you see the beginning effective date was 9/8/2020. We have the program, the disability, and the category filled out, and then we have that end date of 11/12/2020. Now, the program has changed in the second record from mild to moderate to severe disabilities, has stayed with emotional disturbance, and has stayed with general with modifications 80 to 100. So then we started that new record. This one is ended 2/12 of 2021 with moved known to be continuing. So this would be the correct way that these records would be ended and began when there was a change to that special education program record. Now, you need to ensure there is only one open special education program record. So you can see here that we have the beginning starting 1/26/21, ending 4/22/21, then the next one beginning 4/23/21. So the second record does not have an end date because that student is still in school and receiving special education services, but you need to make sure that record right before it did have the end date, and again, that it was at least one day prior to the next. Now we're going to look at SD stars. So how do you check for exit code errors? So the SD stars data dig document for special education codes, you're going to find this within SD stars. You're also going to use the exit code report that I'm going to show you how to run. And you're going to download that into an Excel spreadsheet or another document that's easy for you to work with. And you're going to check that information against Infinite Campus. This is what the SD stars looks like when you log into the longitudinal data system website, and you can see that the link for that is up above, and you're going to click where it says click here to log in. Now your login is going to be your email or your user ID. That's your email. The first time login link you can use if you haven't been there before, but you may need to talk to your SD Stars account manager in your district to either set you up, or if you need permissions to view those reports and you don't currently have them, the ones I'm going to show you, you would need to contact that administrator to get those permissions changed so that you can run the reports you're going to need to check against Infinite Campus. So here's the data interpretation guide or the dig guide, and this is where you're going to find it. You can see up on the navigation bar at the top of the SD Star page, I have clicked on Training Center. Then you go down to Special Education Data Interpretation Guide, and you're going to click on that Special Education Exeter Report dig. Now I have an example of what this looks like on the right. This is what that quick reference guide is going to look like when you open that. Now, SD Stars reports. You can see on that navigation pane, I've now moved from Training Center over to Reports, and I'm going to click on State Reports. Then I'm going to go down the page and find the Special Education Reports and click on the Special Education Exeter. Again, if you don't see that report as one you can run or click on, you need to talk to your SD Stars manager in your district to get that permission changed. Now, when you click on that report, this is what you're going to see. You're going to have to select the current school year. The district should already be selected for you. And then for the schools, the exit reason and the enrollment reason, you're just going to click all at the top. This is just an easy way to run the report because it's not going to hurt your data at all, what you're looking for. But please don't forget to click that View Report button on the right, because if you don't click it, you are going to be sitting there waiting for something to happen and it will not happen for you. So click that View Report button and then give it a moment or two. It just takes a little bit for it to pull that data for you. So be patient and it will pop up for you. Now you're going to see a navigation bar at the top that's going to be visible. You're going to use that to navigate the report. The report's going to look at special education students who are either currently enrolled in special education in your district or who were enrolled in special education at any time during the current school year that you are looking at this report for. You'll notice that that little blue box that looks like a save button or a disk, that's where you're going to exit or export those reports. So that's the button that you're going to click. And when you do, you're going to see a list of different formats that you can export that into. I recommend Excel. That's what I'm going to be using for training purposes today. It's the one that I know how to use the best, but choose the one that you like best or the one you know how to use the most. And then you're going to select that, but make sure that you know where the file is. So when I download on my computer, mine goes to the lower left-hand corner of my internet window. Just make sure where yours, where yours pops up so that you can find that report and click on it. Once you open your report, I would encourage you to make a copy of the document in another tab, and that way you have a working tab and a master tab. This is going to allow you to manipulate the information or data that's in there without losing any of that. So right-click on the tab name at the bottom, then slide up and click on Move or Copy. And then you're going to create a copy with that checkbox down below. And then I would recommend renaming those tabs. I usually call one of mine master file, one of mine working file, then I know which one I'm going to be manipulating. Now, when you're working in the document, I'm going to show you how to actually filter for information so that you can review it a little bit easier. So make sure that you save the document first in a place where you can find it in a folder that's easy to access, that you're going to remember which folder you put that in so you're not searching for it. Then you're going to click where that green arrow is, and you're going to highlight the whole row 5 by clicking on the 5. Then you're going to go up where the purple arrow is and click on Sort and Filter, then go down to where the red arrow is to filter. And the yellow area is just showing you once you click that filter button, then you're going to see these drop-down arrows appear at the top of each of those columns. And that will allow you to filter column information. So there's several ways to filter. You can filter by grade, by exit code for special education, by general education exit code. You will choose which ones you want to manipulate, but remember to click the OK button when you're filtering, because again, you're going to be waiting for something to happen that won't unless you click the OK. Now for this example, I filtered by grade. I selected grades 9, 10, 11, and 12. For the exit codes, there's 4 options. I chose student graduated. And for the exit code from special education, there were 2 options. And these 2 seemed very reasonable for what I was looking for. So I left them, I selected them both. So make sure to go back if you've ran a filter and looked at data and you want to run another one, make sure you go back and clear the previous one, or you're going to be filtering already filtered information. So you can either do that by unchecking those boxes, or you can just simply go up to the top there where it says clear filter from and clear whichever column you're wanting to clear. Now, the first filter was exit code from enrollment. The exit code from special education shows, but I want you to look at the age over at the right and that exit code from enrollment, because the grade level is early childhood, age 5, but we have them as a 20 discontinued completed IEP team modified course requirements, which does not make sense because a 5-year-old is not going to be discontinuing their education because they have met the requirements. So what do you do next? Next, you're going to go back into the Infinite Campus side. You're going to look up the student, go to their enrollment, and you're going to make your changes. So here, if this child was really early childhood, you are going to determine what's going on with that student and change that exit code from the 20 to whatever is necessary, or take the exit code out. Now to filter exit code enrollment column, here we have filtered in-state school transfer, the exit code from special education, all of those are marked. And so when you are sorting here, just make sure that it seems reasonable. So if I'm looking at in-state school transfer students, am I wanting to look for refused services, not known to be continuing, or not receiving special education services? Just ask those questions so that you're filtering for the correct information. Your next step is going to be to work with your district staff to check those exit codes. So you're going to run the report I showed you in SD Stars. You're going to find and filter those errors. You're going to check those errors in Campus. You're going to change the codes that are found to be incorrect. But then you're going to wait till the next day to run that report, because SD Stars does take probably a good 24 hours to update and pull that information in for an Infinite Campus. So if you run that report too soon, you're going to think that information didn't save or didn't import correctly or export correctly, and you're going to think there's problems, when simply waiting another day will show you that you made the change and it's stuck, it's in there. Now, starting the end of May through September, myself, Melissa Bothan, I am going to be checking the data, and I may be contacting you if I see any discrepancies or exit codes for general and special education that are not matching. So I will be reaching out if I see it on my end. Please, I greatly encourage you to run these reports and check them on your own so that you can catch those mistakes. It just cleans up the data a lot more easily, and makes it so that our numbers are going to be matching, if not closer than we have been previous years. So if you have any burning questions that you would love to ask me, things that you would like answers to, feel free to reach out to me. My information here is on the screen. You can call me on that phone number, that is my cell, or you can send me a quick email, either one, whichever is convenient for you. So please reach out with any assistance that you may need or any questions that you may have. I am definitely here for you to help you clean that data up so that we can get the most accurate data reported to the U.S. Department of Ed. So please contact me sooner rather than later in the process. So again, my name is Melissa Bothan. I just want to thank you very much for your time. Feel free to watch this as many times as you'd like. I encourage you to take advantage of both the data dig guide and also the collections data desk guide that is on our website that I linked earlier in the presentation. Those will be valuable resources to you as you go through the process of double checking and entering exit codes. So thank you very much and have a wonderful day.